Well, welcome. There's areas of Milford that many people don't even know exist. Tonight, we're going to talk about the cemeteries that the town owns and maintains. I think it'd be a surprise to many people at where they are and how many they are.
Yep.
But let's start with an introduction.
How you doing? I'm Jamie Luchini. I'm on the Vernon Grove Board of Trustees. I've been on there for about 10 years now, if not more. And was chairman for about 6 or 7 years. And it's been an adventure, to be honest with you. It's been a really good time. We've learned a lot of stuff about the cemeteries in this town and be surprised how big they really are.
Well, I think the biggest question is, people say, cemeteries?
Yeah, there's a couple. Yep.
You know, most people know there's St. Mary's,
Yep. Sacred Heart.
Sacred Heart, because you drive down 109, you see a cemetery to the left,
Yep.
Sacred Heart.
Pine Grove on another busy road.
But see, now, there's probably the one that nobody knows. You drive down 85, St. Mary's on the right. And I don't think anybody understands old St. Mary's, new St. Mary's,
Yep.
except the people who maintain it. There's
Yep.
a very large distinction there. But there's a cemetery to the left. Nobody knows what that is.
That's Pine Grove Cemetery.
But what is Pine Grove?
Pine Grove's actually privately owned by a board of trustees, very similar to Vernon Grove, the difference being the town oversees Vernon Grove, whereas Pine Grove fully is funded by trustees and dealt with completely privately. Good-sized cemetery, very stony, kind of out of the way on the corner. You just kind of drive past it in that busy intersection, and like you said, it just kind of comes up on you. It's got the hills that slope down.
But is it an active cemetery?
Very much so, yeah. They have 3 or 4 workers that go there, that work there, and there's several burials there. It's quite a busy cemetery.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand they have to maintain it, but I don't think I've ever been to a burial there.
I'll be honest with you, I've never been to one myself, but they are an active cemetery. There are burials there. Not often, but there are. Yeah.
Okay.
But our 2 little cemeteries we take care of is the one that's even more hidden. If you go down Depot Street, you take a left on Vernon Street, you come to this beautiful spread out area, about 35 acres, and that's Vernon Grove Cemetery. And it's quite a large place, and it's been there a long time. And then,
Most people know about Vernon Grove, but there's another one.
yeah, this one's really hidden. If you go up Purchase Street, about halfway up and on your right, there's this little side road you go down, and there's this little cemetery back there, North Purchase Cemetery, that the town does own and maintain. It started out back in the day, believe it or not, as a family plot for the most part in that area, and that's pretty much what it had become throughout time. Originally, it was a full town cemetery. You could be from anywhere to purchase a lot up there, but as time went on, it just kind of segregated that the people that lived up on North Purchase Street went to North Purchase Cemetery. And actually, we're out of lots up there now. We're completely sold out of lots. So now it's just the burials for the people that already own lots up there. And we, matter of fact, just took that over as of January. The cemetery men we have 2 full-time employees down at Vernon Grove Cemetery. And as part of it, understanding with the town, we figured, you know, for years and years that cemetery was being taken care of by the Parks Department. They're doing a great job, but why not have cemetery people do cemetery work? Have the park department, they have plenty of parks, and there's always new ones coming, and you know, with the bike trail and everything they got going on, could we alleviate some of the burden off them and have our cemetery guys that are used to trimming around headstones and doing all the little oddities that happen at cemeteries, you know, locating lots and all that stuff and being able to decipher and answer questions to people? Why don't we give that to cemetery people? It made sense. And we went before the finance committee and we presented this. We've been talking about it for several years, and finally, you know, we put it on the back burner because things were a little wishy-washy, you know, economy-wise and some other things. Finally, the time was right, and we were advised to go forward with our plan, and as of January, we did take it over. And that now will fall under the realm of it's not under the financial realm of the Vernon Grove Cemetery. It's completely dealt with on a private level, but as far as the maintenance and the upkeep, will be taken care of with our cemetery
I remember
men.
we had families coming to us saying that individuals were maintaining Purchase Street Cemetery.
That's how it originally started.
You know, and they were saying, you know, realistically, it's just not fair. You know, they were residents, some of them are residents.
And it is a town cemetery.
Of the town. It's a town cemetery. So, you know, the question was, why do you have kind of an A list and a B list?
It makes sense. Everything's got to be equal.
If you go to Vernon Grove, you get taken care of. You go to Purchase Street, we kind of forget about you. And
it happens with small cemeteries. Believe me, I oversee a lot of them in my job, my career-wise, and there's a lot of little ones that do, you know, I
I
use
was
the expression
amazed.
"go the way of the dodo," but it does happen.
But I was amazed at how much work was being put in on a volunteer basis. You know, because let's face it, you want to go visit the final resting place of a loved one.
That's a very serious
You really
responsibility.
don't want to see it overgrown or looking kind of shaggy.
And leaves all over it, and it branches everywhere, and trash, because let's face it, people do throw a lot of trash in cemeteries, and you know, it's a common problem. So we felt that we should, you know, put forward to the town to have cemetery workers take care of it, considering that, like you said, Vernon Grove's having this sort of care. Why shouldn't they be equal to the same care up at North Purchase Cemetery? I'm not saying that the park department did a bad job, it's just trying
No,
to
this was
alleviate
before
work off of them.
the Parks Department was the answer we could come up with.
Exactly, and it makes sense, it filled the void.
All of a sudden, it's like, okay, the people who are volunteering, it's just not fair anymore.
The funny part about both of those town cemeteries is they both actually originated where Memorial Hall is. Yeah, I'm going long before our times, combined and square rooted. It started out.
I'm glad you said that, because most people think I was there.
No, I don't
The
think
only
you were
one
around
older
for
than me
this
is
one.
Mark Shane. He was there when dirt was developed.
Oh.
Okay? So he was there to see dirt being invented, and everybody thinks I'm like right after him.
Mark, I didn't say anything. But originally the town cemetery was where Memorial Hall is, or right next to it where the library is. Well, as time went on, Memorial Hall got bigger. They didn't want the cemetery there anymore. So they actually moved the cemetery from there to Claflin Hill, which is actually where the nursing home is now. That was actually where the cemetery was. Well, to make a very long story short, people didn't want it near the train tracks, because back then the railroads were very popular, and so they uprooted everybody again, and they gave people a choice. This is when North Purchase first started.
They actually exhumed everybody
Yes. Yep.
twice?
Yes. Well, in some cases twice, not in all
Well,
cases.
no, but-
yeah, but yes, they did. And some chose to go up North Purchase, and some chose to go down where is Vernon Grove now. Great spot down in a riverbed. It's fairly easy digging.
It
in
was
Vernon
out,
Grove.
back then, it was
out of the way.
that part of town that nobody went.
And it was in a plain area where it's a river wash off, so it's easy digging, a lot of sand. Makes sense. That's what you want. You don't want to go to rocky areas where, especially
Granite.
back then, you know, they didn't have the luxuries of mini excavators and all the stuff we have now. So it's a little tough digging back then.
So how big is North Purchase?
North Purchase is, I'd say, all in all, about 3/4 of an acre.
So if you compare that to St. Mary's,
You could probably fit roughly, I'd say 20 North Purchase streets in one St.
I was
Mary's.
going to say, because it's about 5% of
Yeah.
the land of St. Mary's.
That would be a good estimation on my
Because,
part.
I mean, when you drive down 85, you can get a feeling for how big St. Mary's
Actually,
is.
St. Mary's is deceiving because it really goes in.
Yeah.
That's the deceiving part of St. Mary's. I mean, you can go past it and it is big, but when you go in, it really
And we
goes
just
back
opened
there.
up a whole new section. There's still a lot of land there.
Yes. We actually did the same thing we actually had a lot of land down at Vernon Grove, the remaining land surveyed, because I know a lot of people don't think about this, but people don't stop dying, unfortunately, and cemeteries don't get any bigger. What was allotted was allotted. Now, you know, there's houses around all cemeteries and streets and everything else. Literally, they're running out of land for cemeteries. Not so much on our town yet, but statewide, it's becoming an issue. That's why cremation is becoming a lot more popular, because you can fit a lot more cremations in one lot as you can one full burial.
You know, we had that discussion when Lynn came in front of the FinCom for the
Call the
first,
burying. Yep.
you know. But, okay, so when I'm trying to plan for my final, when I take hopefully the bus ride north, if I get suntan lotion, I'm not going to be happy. You know,
Unless it's really good suntan lotion.
yeah, I don't want to head south on that final bus ride. But I can go to Sacred Heart. I can go to St. Mary's. Can I still go to the other one?
Pine Grove?
Yeah.
You can, as far as I know. They're not sold out.
Okay, so Pine Grove, I wouldn't know how to get to them, but Pine Grove. Or I can go to Vernon Grove.
Yes.
You know, to me, it's easy. I wouldn't even think. I'm St. Mary's Parish, I'd go to St. Mary's.
And a lot of people do that.
Sacred Heart would go to Sacred Heart.
Yep.
But you don't have to.
Absolutely not. You can go, I mean, you're free to choose you can choose a cemetery in another town if you really felt like it. That's completely up to you. Most people don't because they have family history. You know, a lot of my family's at Sacred Heart for reasons. St. Mary's, you know, Vernon Grove's very popular. There's a lot of family ties that have been going there through generations. So that's what usually weigh people's mind, and cost. I mean, let's face facts. It's not cheap. You know, there's unfortunately a cost with everything.
Well, we went down, my mother's, I hate to say my mother's girlfriend, Donna Clotilda, passed away at 106.
God bless her.
And her husband was buried, I guess, with Paul Revere down at Vernon Grove, or Paul Revere's friends. And we get down there and we looked around, and I said, you know, Mom, we're not in Kansas anymore.
No.
There's no vowels at the end of these names.
No, it's not like walking into Sacred Heart. It's a little different.
Yeah, Sacred Heart St. Mary's is an O or an A on just about every tombstone here. So when do people generally choose to go to Vernon Grove?
Honestly, a lot of different reasons. Sometimes they price shop. We were one of the cheaper ones. Being a town cemetery, we always felt we should be on the lower end. We have raised it. I mean, a lot of lots now, like I believe off the top of my head, please don't quote me, but I believe Sacred Heart's $900 for a lot. It's about $900 across
about
the
a grand,
board, give or take.
A little bit.
We did end up raising our rates this year up to $750 to bring it back up because, you know, we wanted to bring it up to competitive wages, but we were always lower because we felt it was a town cemetery. And some people, you know, struggle with the cost of the
Still, you
burial.
got those employees that want to eat.
There's that whole thing.
They want to buy food for their children,
Yes,
clothing. So
it is
you got to kind of
necessity.
make something.
Exactly. So we did raise our rates a little bit for that reason, to bring it back up to competitive scales, because a lot of times people were shopping around going, oh, we can go there for half the price. And, you know, not that that's a bad thing because we're selling lots, but in the same note, we want to be competitive.
Do we care, Jamie?
As far as?
I mean, realistically, okay, I'm a St. Mary's boy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really care as a town whether I choose St. Mary's or Vernon Grove?
Not one bit at all.
I would think more important is that we make it so that you can stay in Milford.
That's the goal. And actually, a bylaw at Vernon Grove is you have to be a Milford resident to be buried there because it is a town cemetery and not private. Private cemeteries can do whatever you'd like.
Right.
You know, they choose their own bylaws. Our bylaws are you have to be from Milford to be buried,
Yeah, I
or
mean,
at least purchase a lot in Milford. Let's put it that way at Vernon Grove.
No, but I mean, you know, we joke about there's no vowels, but realistically, I wouldn't want to see somebody not be able to be buried in Milford who wanted to be.
Oh, and that's why we have extended, you know, what we can take in there now. We wanted to see what we actually had available. We do have a nice chunk of land available still, you know. It's unfortunately filling up every day. It is quite busy, but, you know, we started to look to the future because this is it's a reality. It's not going to go away.
So now, some people pre-plan, right?
Yes. Yep. A lot of times they go to funeral directors and go through that, and, you know, the funeral director direct them, would you like St. Mary's? Would you like Sacred Heart? Would you like Vernon Grove? People come in, no, I want Vernon Grove. Okay. Well, they have our price sheet, so that all gets factored in. A lot of times they come down there and they want to see where their lot's going to be, you know. They want to pick it out, see what's available. That's what's nice about.
I can pick my dirt?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I want to be under a tree or...
Be case specific.
Really?
Case specific, as long as it's available.
Well, yeah,
You know,
obviously. If it's already occupied,
you'd be surprised.
it's got to be...
Well, a lot of times it's already purchased but not occupied.
Oh, I
there's a
hadn't
lot
thought
of
about
land.
that.
There's a lot of land that's staked and pegged that, you know, it's already spoken for, but there's nobody there yet. There's no headstones or anything, so it's occupied land that's unoccupied. So, you know, people come down and they'll say, you know, I want to be near this tree. Oh, you know, my great auntie Susie's over here. Is there anything around there? And the beautiful part about Vernon Grove is we have 2 full-time employees there, so there's always somebody there to take you out there and show you, as opposed to you just getting a map or guessing and going to see Auntie Susie and figuring it out. They can call up the Board of Trustees. Lynn has gone down. She has all the records. She's gone down countless times to lay out lots and meet with people.
Lynn needs records?
The wealth of information that Lynn
I was going to say, normally you ask Lynn and she knows every...
It's tough to remember where everybody's, you know,
somehow
what's
she
available.
seems to know.
She is a wealth of information, that lady. It's
Now,
unbelievable.
You read over and over how the maintenance, I mean, $750 seems like a lot of money for a little bit of dirt, till you figure, okay, for the neck in perpetuity,
care, exactly.
right?
It never ends.
That $750 doesn't sound like a lot of money to mow my grass and keep
the leaves off and pick up the sticks that fall and make sure there's grass on it.
So
and it's
I've
cared
seen
for.
movements where a lot of the commercial cemeteries now allow you to put a stone,
Okay.
but no tombstone.
We still allow tombstones.
Because I was going to say,
we allowed headstones, footstones, whichever you choose. It's your lot. I mean, it's your lot. In fairness, and everybody has a different preference. You'll be amazed when you start dealing with cemeteries, the different preferences people do have for their family members, their loved ones. And you know, I deal with a lot of things in my job, and I deal with cemeteries on top of it. And most of the complaints are from cemeteries because people really take it seriously when someone's laid to rest for eternity. I mean, it's something they see. It's never going to change, and if it starts to look like trash, they don't expect that. And especially at a place like Vernon Grove, where it's a town cemetery, they don't deserve that. That's why we always try to make that cemetery look great.
I'd probably have a more lenient view if you said you left some leaves on me, but not my mother.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And that's the feeling of it.
You know,
honestly,
I'll go before my darling bride, but you know, if it was my darling bride, my mother, God forbid it's one of your children.
That you just struck a nerve.
You know, I mean, just the idea.
I've personally sold graves for children, and it's some of the hardest thing you can ever do to meet with people. It's really.
I cannot imagine a worse time on anybody.
I can't even.
You know,
it's unfathomable sometimes what people have to go through and how they shoulder up.
So now I can go down. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm talking to Joe.
On a happier note, enough of that stuff.
Yeah, Joe or Dave, and say, I want to go to this cemetery. Yep. I'm going to go pick a plot.
Sure.
Now, do you go deep? Do you go wide?
As far as?
In Portugal, my dad and my granddad were buried.
There's no stacking in Massachusetts. It's against the law.
Okay.
One, for a full lot, you can get one full burial. And on top of that, you could put 2 to 3, because this is becoming more and more popular now too. There's a full burial with Grammy, and we want to be near Grammy. We're going to be cremated. You can put 3 cremations on top of a burial, a full burial.
Oh, okay.
So that's getting.
So that's where I heard about stacking.
Exactly. But as far as full burial stacking, it is illegal.
So
you can't do that. The 2 vaults, no.
The vaults,
one.
There's only one.
There's only one per customer per lot. But you can go above and for cremations, and it's becoming much more popular. I'll be honest with you.
Is it just cost?
A lot more people are being cremated. In all honesty, it's becoming very popular for a lot of reasons. Cost being one of them. I'm sure everybody has different values, different.
But you got $750. Mm-hmm. That's it?
No, that's for the lot.
That's for the dirt.
You still gotta. When the time
now,
unfortunately does come,
somebody's got to dig.
Yes, that gets subbed out to a contractor because they have a mini excavator. It's not like the old days when my father worked there and I used to go help him, and 3 guys in the hole, and then he'd come out and 3 guys out of the hole and cover up the dirt with the the nice grass.
No, they got the little excavator.
A little mini excavator. They come in.
So what does that run you?
At Vernon Grove, now every cemetery is different as well. At Vernon Grove, that's $450 for a regular during the week burial. And there's different costs. On the weekends it goes up $50. It's $500 because it's more of a cost to call in the guys.
So it's somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 all in.
Basically. Yes, and then obviously headstones are a different entity altogether.
I don't even know what.
Oh, those you can go absolutely. You'd be amazed what those can cost. Thousands.
Really?
Thousands. A foundation gets poured, and then on top of the foundation comes your headstone, and some people put footstones.
Well, I mean, the old Portuguese tradition, you had the box of marble above. Yep. My father and grandfather in Portugal, we had the handmade marble and with their pictures.
You couldn't afford the handmade marble out here. It's an unbelievable. I couldn't even begin to. You could go from $500 to a headstone to $15,000 if you really wanted to, depending if you wanted this type of granite, this type of marble, It's
but
crazy.
Vernon Grove allows it.
Yes.
As long as you fit within.
As long as you fit within your lot, and I mean, it's fairly common. It's usually people buy 2 lots, and you put it in the middle, and that way you have.
Oh, okay.
Your last name or whatever name you want, and then over here is Joe, and over here is Sue, on the little flat markers, and I mean that comes up with upkeep to make sure that going back to perpetual care that those little flat markers don't get covered over with grass, because it's amazing the weeds and grass that does grow. We haven't figured a way to stop that yet, though, so that all goes into perpetual care. And they sink, and you have to be adjusted at times. It happens.
So you take care of all the headstones to make sure that they don't tilt and look goofy?
Technically, the lot owner owns the headstones. We don't go in and scrub them and clean them, because if we ever damage them, it's private property technically. But if something's leaning over, of course we go in and straighten it out, or you get
So I have
Ackermans
to,
to
I have
fix
to
them.
go in and scrub it to make it look
If
pretty.
you choose to, yes. We don't touch them because if there was ever any damage or anything scratched
Well, that
off,
makes sense.
it would fall on us. And, you know, we're not going to damage anybody's. In the same note, we do help out. Our guys are there to help out
Still, for
anything.
$1,500, it doesn't seem like a bad deal forever.
No, it's not. It's not.
You know, I mean, I'll live forever, but I'll die
We're
forever.
not going to live forever. You haven't
Yeah,
figured out how to yet?
You kidding me?
I was coming here for some answers for that.
Now, a few years ago, Lynn came to us
Yes.
at the FinCom and was talking about the increased rate of cremation and how she wanted to buy
Columbarium.
a columbarium.
This was right before I got on the board, but I'm well versed in it. Since I've been on there, it's come up in discussion.
Is the trend, you keep talking about it, seems like the trend is not just continuing.
It's
but
definitely increasing.
Increasing.
It's definitely increasing. For the columbarium, you get, I believe the measurements are, I think it's 3 feet by, or 4 feet by 4 feet by 2 feet. I forget off the top of my head. But for $800, the urns go in there, and for $800, you get 2 urns and a bronze plaque on the end of it. So basically, instead of spending $750 for one lot, if you were just going to have one burial, you get 2 cremations in the columbarium and a bronze marker on the end of it that says whatever you'd like on it for $800. So it's becoming, and as cremations are getting more and more popular, it's becoming a popular alternative.
So for 800, you get 400 per instead of 1,500 per.
Exactly. And some people, it all depends what they, what their belief systems are, or their values, or how they want to be laid to rest. Some people really are adamant they want to be buried, like their parents were, their grandparents were, and everybody else was. Newer age people now are starting to say, cremate me, stick me above ground, beautiful. That's all.
Well, I mean, I think realistically, our role as a town ought to be to provide the services our residents want.
Exactly. And it's a service that no one wants to deal with.
Well,
Nobody
of course
ever
not.
wants to think about it. Nobody ever wants to deal with it, but it's a reality. Every one of us, it's like taxes.
Yeah.
No,
but I mean, realistically, it's not anybody's place to judge above or below.
Exactly. And we just like to
You
give
know,
the
just-
options to whatever anybody in the
If
town
you
of Milford
decide to
wants.
put your mom in an urn, it's still our responsibility to show respect and make sure that everything's clean.
Yeah.
And when you go there, to remember your mom.
You're happy with what you see.
Yeah, there's no distraction.
Yeah.
And to me, that's total disrespect if we didn't take care. And that was the whole North Purchase Street piece.
Yep.
There was never a question, as scrunchy as we are on the FinCom about
you guys
extra
aren't
money.
that bad.
No, but I mean, realistically, when the group came in front of us and said, it really isn't looking nice. People are going there and it's overgrown. It was like, okay, let's ask Mike, the Parks Department, because that was our first, they have mowers, they have,
And they're mobile. It's a logical go-to. It's a
they
logical
took
go-to.
over, but it was never a question of, are we going to allocate the money? Of course we are. This is somebody's father, their mother, their grandmother.
And that's another reason, we've gone full-time now with our employees a couple of years back, which is great. We have a new one-ton that the town was gracious enough, and thank you all for voting in favor of it. It's being built, it's a little delayed, but it's MHQ. It happens with the state, but you get a good price, but sometimes it takes a little while.
Oh, tell me, poor Scott, he's still waiting on his leaf suckers.
It happens. It does happen. So it should be here in another month or so. We got through this winter, but the beauty of this now with full-time employees at the cemetery, one that any time of the year, anybody can go there and there's going to be someone there to talk to. Now, secondarily, with this new one-ton we got a four-wheel drive vehicle with a plow. So now we're going to, because the town, the highway department has what they got to do, roads, they have a lot on their plate. The last thing they want to think about, and to be fair, is going to do cemeteries such as North Purchase and Vernon Grove. And a lot of time North Purchase never got plowed right up until there was a funeral. All of a sudden everything was packed ice, and now you got to deal with that, which was no fun because I had to go up there several times myself when I was employed in Milford and go deal with it. So now with the beauty of us taking over the maintenance at North Purchase from Vernon Grove, we have a plow truck, we have able-bodied men. We're going to plow our own cemetery down to Vernon Grove to our liking. That way someone's not coming down there that doesn't know that, this grass sticks out a little bit further here, there's an island here, this headstone's
That's all you
a little
need is
close.
somebody to nip a headstone.
And it does happen.
And forget the money.
It does happen.
I just can't imagine the emotion if,
When the
again,
snow melts and all of a sudden,
you go down and your mom's headstone's cracked.
and now after Vernon Grove is plowed, they're going to go up to North Purchase and keep that open at all times as well. It was a win-win from our point of view. And we were building, one of the first things when I first got on board on the Board of Trustees was, we were laying guys off. We're paying them to stay home, and it never made sense to me. Why are we
I
paying
think
people
that
to
was
stay
what
home?
threw me, is people didn't understand, that at your normal job, not municipal, that you pay into an unemployment pool, so if you're laid off, you collect from the pool.
Exactly.
There's no such thing for towns.
No.
We lay you off. When you claim, we get a bill dollar for dollar.
And your town pays it one way or the other.
So we were laying people off for 5 months of the year.
Going off in 5 months. It was about 3, but
Well, 3.
at any rate, the winter months.
Why did I
It
thought
was
it was
December,
5 or 6, but it
January,
was 2
February.
people.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking. It was 5, 6 months
There you go, total. Yep.
between the two.
Yep.
And we were paying them, essentially, the town was paying 40-some% of their salary to stay home.
Yes, when they could, able-bodied people be down in the
And then
cemetery.
Scotty was hiring them back to plow.
Well, at that time they weren't. At that time they
Because
weren't.
I'm
This
sitting there
was-
saying, wait a minute, we end up paying
Yeah, no, they
the
were
same
not
amount of
plowing. And
money.
part of the deal was when we did employ, we said, we have an opportunity here, 2 town workers to plow. And now we'll be a town truck to plow. We're trying to build towards the common
So
good
now,
here.
the 3 months we get, when Scotty needs plow people or whatever they,
The invitation's open.
so the guys that we now are paying full-time
Yep.
go and plow at the highway department.
Whenever they're called. It was a difficult transition at first. There was some miscues and some miscommunications, and it happens. It's been ironed out, and now when they do stuff, they pick up their phone
Well,
and
we
go
had
plow.
said we'd evaluate after 2 or 3 years.
We're there now.
So,
Time
I mean,
flies,
this year
doesn't
won't
it?
be a good one, because if we ask Scotty how many hours did you get them to plow, probably not going to be many, I hope.
As for last year, we'll
I was
we'll
gonna
average
say,
it out.
last year will probably be a better year to compare.
Yeah. Well, let's hope we don't have another winter like that again.
So now, we've gone through some challenges.
Always.
I remember that I never thought that kids would go parking in a cemetery. It just creeps me out. I can't imagine a less romantic setting than my dead grandmother, being...
Come on, it's not mood lighting, seeing the moon reflection.
Yeah, it's saying that, that's my grandmother, that's my grandfather looking at us. But whatever happened, because we tried putting cameras.
We have a camera down there. We originally the plan was to have 2.
Right.
We have one right at the gate that videotapes everybody coming and going. It is a closed circuit system that we monitor, and our guys monitor it in the morning, make sure everything's, and I'm going to knock on some wood, we haven't had that much difficulty, thank goodness. We have another camera in the back that was supposed to be solar powered. We've run into some issues with it, and we're actually right now actively trying to get a solution to it, because the company that sold us that other camera is no longer in existence, and these things happen, so trying to get somebody to fix someone else's mistakes.
But couldn't we use that new technology called electricity?
Yeah, it's just there's no electricity out there, so to run the wire would be, it raised issues because it's way in the back where there is no easy feed to it.
Oh, okay.
That's the problem.
So I was going to say, the solar's nice, but...
It's the way the location of it was, to drag a line out there would have been a lot of work. You have unsightly telephone poles that nobody really wants to see. There's other issues that came up.
Yeah, and you can't really put it underground.
No, that would be it'd be like this. It'd be kind of difficult. So that's why we opted for solar, and we had a few issues with the camera, and we're working through it. These things happen,
But, we were worried about the syringes being found, the condoms, and all the other not so nice
I'd love
things.
to say all that has gone away. It hasn't. People still going in. You don't know what they're doing. It's not like we have a camera that follows people every move they make.
Yeah.
We're basically concerned about damage, theft, things like that.
Well,
For an
knock
example,
on wood, we haven't heard. Every once in a while, you hear this cemetery, some less than intelligent person went and knocked over tombstones.
which is to me the worst offense there is, but that's just my personal opinion on that. Is no more of a cowardice act than that, in my opinion. As far as, we did have one incident, believe it or not. A tractor trailer was following his GPS. This was about 2 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago. The truck was following his GPS to go to Enron, Foster Forbes, St. Gobain, whatever it is.
Saint-Gobain.
St.
Yeah,
Gobain, okay.
Foster Forbes were dating
Yeah, I
ourselves.
said Enron, so I'm, okay. So the GPS brought him down Vernon Street. It just didn't pick up National Street. So he went down now. God bless him. You think when you saw a cemetery, you probably would have stopped and back up in a straight line. Well, this fine gentleman didn't. He tried to drive around that 53-foot rig.
Oh, my
around
God.
And went up over an old granite causeway, dragged headstones and it was quite the mess. We didn't really need the camera for that one. The truck got stuck. But
Oh my God,
their
Arch
insurance
must have
company
had-
got a nice bill out of that one.
Arch must have had a good time trying to get that
this
monster
guy
out of
drove
there.
that rear end right up over these raised granite, these high granite pillars, and just got hung up on it, blew the cams out, the brakes, the whole nine. It was, looking back, it could have been 10
A lot
times
worse.
worse. But, he missed a lot of the headstones. There was some damage, but minor. We had some granite we had to replace and some few headstones and some lawn damage and some other things.
No, I never thought about a cemetery as a place to go and have a late night discussion, but apparently,
Yes, it's quiet.
Well, I
It's
mean,
out of
when-
the way.
when
You
we
just
were-
said it yourself. We're a lot of the cemeteries. They're out of the way.
yeah, I never thought of it because the Grove is gone, the U-turn is gone. Where
With popular hangouts.
yes, groups of young people would go and have their nightly discussion on the current literature.
Yes,
you know,
discussing world peace and whatnot.
world peace and
Yes,
whatnot.
yes.
I never thought once you took those away that the teenagers, okay, they still want to go have long discussions about
They were-
current literature.
Yes, exactly. And sometimes they do flock to cemeteries in all towns, not just Milford, not just
I don't know,
Milford.
just I hate to say it, but it feels creepy.
But I will say, thank God we haven't encountered any real serious issues there since I've been there. I mean, there has been things in the past, but the last 10 years it's been pretty humdrum, which is good.
So, what are the biggest challenges you're facing?
Biggest challenges we're facing, to be completely honest with you, it was our equipment. We have stuff. It's funny, as we mentioned Enron, that's how that one-ton dump truck that's down there now, that now my guys are actually push starting because it's that far gone, and we knew it was coming. We just told them to hold off, it's coming. That's why we knew we were at the end of our rope. We knew it. And I mean, that truck's used for leaf removal. It's used for moving loom around, picking up all the flowers. You can't even begin to think of the stuff that a one-ton's used for in a cemetery. That was hanging over our head, and we knew it was going to be an issue when coming up. That truck that's down there now was actually donated by Enron like 25 years ago. They got 25 years out of that. That truck owed us nothing. So now that we're accomplishing that, and we were gracious enough and thankful to the voters of Milford for voting that in, because it was great, really a service. Now, like I said, we can take care of our own snow removal, which is always a problem because a lot of times there's funerals right after a snowstorm, and it's not as easy to get other departments to come help you out when there's other issues pressing them.
I mean, I hate to say it, but Scotty's sitting there saying Main Street, Purchase Street,
North Purchase, Vernon Grove.
Vernon Grove. Probably more people would notice if Scotty didn't plow Purchase Street than Vernon Grove.
And then from our point of view, but which is,
But
get back to the service lane.
if it's the day I'm leaving St. Mary's,
Yep.
I don't want to get to Vernon Grove and not be able to drive.
Exactly. So that was really hanging over our head, and we've accomplished that. As far as the full-time employees, it's worked out great. It really has. I look forward to the review with the FinCom and anybody else. It's worked out fantastic. I think for everybody involved.
We should be clear. This is not an accusatory review.
No, not what I love reviews. I think there should be reviews in all aspects of municipal government.
Any time that we spend money on a new program, I think it's just fiscally responsible to say, when do we check and see if it worked?
I think you owe it to the taxpayers. And to be completely honest with you, because if something ain't working,
Then we change it.
go back to the way things were.
Well, that was the
something
whole
else.
idea of, wait a minute, I'm paying people how much to sit home?
That was always when I first started, it was one of my things, my bullet points. I'm like, this has to be changed. This doesn't make sense anymore. I understand back in the day when things were different, it made sense. The world has changed since.
I mean, I'm going to assume that the people who made the decision back when, with the data they had, with the situation, made the best decision. Of
course.
Because it wouldn't matter if I...
Don't forget, back in the day when those decisions were made, they didn't do burials in the winter. They put them in a crypt, stacked them,
and then waited till spring.
A little different
Now,
situation.
that's always a question. Because people will say, okay, how do you know who's going to die?
Oh, you'd be a millionaire 100 times removed
I
if you knew that.
I mean, I bought that plot,
Yeah.
right?
It's under 3 feet of
Decades
snow.
ago. It's frozen. I die tomorrow.
Happens quite often.
What are you going to do?
You go back to the records, you check the deeds where it's spelled out, Elm Lane, lot 232,
Right.
grave 2. You go over there, there's pegs. Our guys go down and you go off the peg so many paces. You mark it out. You do test holes with an iron rod to drive it down, and you drive it down. If you don't hit concrete, vacancy. Now the Carlo comes in after everything's laid out. They start digging, put it right in that spot.
But now, I guess the question is, the ground's frozen. Can Carlo dig in frozen ground?
Mini excavators. It's a different jackhammers. All things that didn't exist back in the day when you had to hand dig it. You couldn't very well dig through, a foot and a half of frost with a pick and shovel back in the day.
I remember the old days where they would open up so many graves.
Yeah.
And I always wondered, okay, I've gone through all this pain of picking out the grave next to my mom. And you're telling me the only vacancy is down the hill.
It's not done like that anymore. Things still do get crypt, though. We had a cemetery up in New Hampshire when they really get into the thick of it, where this was in Northbridge, it wasn't in Milford, but they borrowed our crypt because the person was from Northbridge but wanted to be buried in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire Cemetery said, no, we don't dig until April. So Vernon Grove's crypts actually, we're turning around right now, speaking of challenges, because it's not used anymore. The guys and the equipment are all in one little storage trailer that the truck pulls in, and that's about all the space in there. So now when people come down in the winter and want to go see where Auntie Susie's grave is, well, they'll put the map out on top of the hood of the dump truck and find people over sneaking and buy all the stuff hanging there. We're in the process now of getting a permit from the building department. We're going to turn over the crypt dealing with it in-house. Our guys are going to build it. They're going to insulate it. They're going to stud it. And they're going to make it into a little common area, so that way when someone comes down there, they don't have to go walk next to the mix oil or the trimmers hanging on the wall and everything. They can go into a decent area where there'll be a table and actually have all the deeds in there and in the map, so they can sit down. And it'll be a more inviting environment than laying it out on top of a 25-year-old one-ton dump truck. Novel idea, isn't it?
Read that back to me. I want to go down and see a family member.
Yep.
So there's not an electronic...
Nope. We have books. We're converting things to computers.
I was going to
We're
say,
converting them.
like that new technology, electricity.
Like the internet, yeah, that whole new thing.
Yeah. Did we ever think that technology, computers, and being able to digitize the maps?
They actually are digitized now, to a degree, not everything. A lot of it's still done the old-fashioned, and I'll be honest with you, sometimes the old ways are the easier ways when it comes to that, because a lot of this stuff is predated a long time ago, and it's easy to go through. Once you get a feel for the cemetery, like the employees, they kind of know where certain families are, you know what I mean? You get a feel for it, like Lynn. She just knows because of all the knowledge, you know?
How many spots are in Vernon Grove?
Oh, that I honestly couldn't even give you a good guess. I believe...
But it's more than 100.
Oh, I believe as far as the active headstones, we got to be at 1,700, 2,000. I would say at bare minimum. But that's not all the lots. That's just the markers. You could probably triple that number as far as lots, because for every headstone, there's usually 2 to 3 lots associated with it.
So about 6,000
I would
spots.
say that would be a relative number, a fair number.
Wouldn't that be a great project for an intern or something to digitize?
It would be.
Because, I'm just trying to think realistically, if I want to find out where Auntie May is buried, wouldn't it be nice to be able to go to town hall?
Go on the internet, click it.
Or even better, if you
Your
post
house.
it on the internet.
Yeah. This is how a lot of cemeteries are going. We're working towards it. It's you got to take baby steps a lot. Like I said, as far as with the full-time stages. So we're building to how things are now, and the internet is. Let's face it, it's not going back the other way. So
No, but I'm just thinking. We hire kids, and these young kids, electronically dwarf.
light years about.
Yeah, you and I, forget it. Yes. Give me a stone tablet, my chisel.
I don't go
beat
back
'em.
that far, but
I do. I would beat them. But, realistically, wouldn't that be a nice project?
it'd be a great Eagle Scout project.
Even better.
Be a great Eagle Scout project. Yep. So we're throwing it out there. If anyone has an Eagle Scout project coming up, come call the Vernon Grove Board of Trustees.
What a fantastic project for a group of Eagle Scouts to do map out a section. Because it's got to be, we can't be the only cemetery that runs into this.
No,
There's got to be common software.
well, I know Central Mass Regional Planning, CMRPC, they actually did one for my Pine Grove Cemetery in Northbridge. It was not a perfect system. We're still working through that one as well because it presented challenges on how things were labeled back in the day. A lot of times, like if you were on Elm Lane, well, on the handwritten maps, there's one Elm Lane and one Elm Lane on this side. Well, when you plug that into a computer, the computer don't know enough to decipher one on this side and one on this side, so it picks which one it wanted to, and you'd have two of the same people on the map, when in actuality,
Half of Aunt May is here, the other.
yeah, and whoever was in this one, Auntie Sue, was gone. So it presented challenges in and of itself.
I could see somebody going to the town, if we had to buy software, saying this would be one very nice package. You know, if we could get an Eagle Scout or a volunteer,
It'd be great.
you know,
It'd be great.
National Honor Society hours to just start, okay, guys, counting from 6,000.
And what they would learn from Lynn and what you would remember might completely blow their minds when
Yeah, the scariest
trying to
movies,
plug it
Lynn
in.
say, Joe, Mary, she'd start pointing them out.
Right off the bat.
But that would be a fantastic project.
That definitely sounds good.
You know,
Something we can-
certainly not only would make it easier on the employees, but
for the general, you could go on.
It's a Sunday
I can
afternoon.
envision a situation where you want to see where your great aunt, Uncle Bob, was buried, and you're sitting at home and you go on the Milford website and you click on, you know, you have all your boards in Vernon Grove. You click on that, plug in the name, and they'll show you. Here's the map, and it'll zero in on you. This is where Uncle Bob is.
that'd be fantastic.
It's just unfortunately one of those things that don't take precedent over other things, you know?
Well, no, but
It's a great project idea.
I would be hard pressed to ask a town employee, you know, hey guys, take this on as a project.
That would be something.
You know, I mean, it's just not going to move fast enough, even if they wanted to. You know, but these kids, what they can do electronically,
It's
it'll dwarf. I mean, it'll.
what they can do in their cell phones better than I.
Well, that's. You think about it. Landscaping and all.
Yes.
We haven't seen. Well, let me ask, how do you fund the maintenance of Vernon Grove?
Maintenance of Vernon Grove is funded through the town of Milford. We have a line. We have a budget. You know, anybody on the FinCom or anybody who looks through the town report knows we're kind of easy. We have 3 line items. It's not
No,
anything
not a very big
mind-boggling.
budget.
We have salaries and wages. We have internments, and we have groundskeeping. Our overall budget is in the ballpark of, I think last year it was $104,000, and this year, following the guidelines, we're up to $105,000. That covers the salaries, the internments, because they bill us for the internments. Instead of having a revolving account, somehow or another they bill us and we pay it out of our internments and give it back to the town. It's kind of a messed up system.
It's almost a revolving
It's
account,
for all
really.
intents and purposes it is. So we just left it that way on the recommendation, and it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
It
it's one of
works.
those things that every time we talk about, should we make it a revolving account? The problem I ran into, and a couple people who said, why? And everybody said, we don't know. Everybody else has one. I said, no. Why?
Exactly.
You know, if there's an issue,
Which there isn't.
Then
You
I'd say-
know it before I would. Has there ever been an issue?
you know, I mean, for years we ran through we weren't quite budgeting it right, and, you know,
I
a couple,
mean,
2-3 years we had those bumps.
One year I was on the board towards the tail end, we had, I know this is going to sound ridiculous, but a flurry of burials right before the end of the fiscal year. So it dropped the money. We didn't have enough to cover it.
That we could deal with.
Exactly, and that's all that would happen. That's the worst case scenario.
But I remember when you took over, we said, okay, no more.
Yep.
Budget properly, and don't come back saying, oh,
We ran out.
we ran out, because running out because you had an extraordinary circumstance, yeah. I mean, when the truck dies,
It happens.
I mean, it's like Parks Department this year when they came and said, please, the leftover that Scotty couldn't use anymore, that we've milked 10 years out of, finally failed roadworthiness.
Can't get that sticker anymore.
Well, and it's like, to their credit, Paul and I, well, we can use it. I said, no. I don't even want to hear that you can use it
It gets to a
off-road.
point, exactly. It gets to a point where it's
Well,
not
no,
safe.
God
It's
forbid.
not safe.
If somebody got hurt because of it.
Exactly. Is it really worth it? Is it worth a
Oh,
lawsuit?
God, no. Forget a lawsuit. How do you look at your neighbor and say your dad or your brother got hurt because we're trying to
We
say,
wouldn't fund for a new 1-ton that we got for free, got 10 years afterlife out of it? No.
yeah, when Scotty declared it dead, they resuscitated it with Band-Aids and
Yeah,
bubble gum.
That's why we're trading in our one. We got a trade-in value for our 25-year-old 1-ton.
But see, that's always been, and to their credit, we said, okay, so we're going to recommend, because obviously the FinCom, I get yelled at when I say, to me, they're the most influential, powerless people.
The most powerful advisory board in
Well, but I mean, you think about it, you can't even vote unless you're a town meeting member.
Raise very valid points.
You know, I mean, we do have a little bit of influence when it comes down to the money, but power, none.
None.
Because the selectmen have the right to just look at us and say, yeah, that's nice, go away. Right? And town
Get
meeting,
that veto power, imagine that.
town meeting has 100% of the right, because they're the ones that decide every penny.
Technically, it's,
But, you know, when
it's
you-
our money, as we're both taxpayers.
Coming out of my pocket, I get to vote it.
Exactly.
You know, but you start thinking through it, and there's got to be a balance.
Of course.
You know,
course.
you're not going to risk the safety.
No.
You know,
Safety's not worth it, because if someone gets hurt permanently, is it really worth it? Is it
God.
really worth it? For I mean, you know, it's one thing when you're pressed for every dime and dollar. Then you have to prioritize. You do. Sometimes you have to make hard decisions, but Milford's very fortunate. They're very fiscally responsible. They're in a very good location. They made some really good choices over the last couple of decades, and it's a reflection of it now. It really is. I mean, we benefited greatly from 495, but made the most out of it. You know, a lot of towns were on 495 that aren't doing as well as Milford is because of the foresight a lot of people had. So is it really worth it for a 1-ton for the park department to have something on the road?
No.
Is it?
But you know, the agreement was, we said, okay, now no games. If it really is unsafe, she's a dead.
That's it.
I don't want to see, you know, Paul Braza driving down the street one day saying, not dead yet.
That's why with the 1-ton at Vernon Grove, we opted to get the $1,400 for a trade-in, because that's, you know,
No, but I mean,
more
that's
than we'd
the
get at
point.
the scrapyard for it.
If we go in front of town meeting and recommend,
Yeah.
and to their credit, they gave us their word, you will not see us saying, not dead yet.
Yeah, we got a little more life out of it. We're going to do something different with it.
Yeah, no.
I don't like those false positive things. It doesn't,
No, because
doesn't look right.
It doesn't look right to the taxpayer. If we're bringing something up early, then it should be for a reason.
Of course. Of course. I agree wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly.
You know, if the reason is it's not safe, then it's not safe.
Not safe for anybody. It's not going to go from this department to another department.
So now, people hear there's a fund. So my $750
Yeah.
goes into a perpetual care fund.
Yes.
Why does the town have to pay employees if you've got a big perpetual care fund?
Because it's set up in bylaws that were set up long before you and I, once again, that we can't touch those perpetual care funds. We can touch the interest on it, on a couple of them, not all of them, for very certain things. It's spelt out what we can and can't spend money on, and from time to time we have gone for perpetual care when we needed something and we were running short on funding. We've gone to those funds, and one of them you have to go before the Board of Selectmen and they can okay it, and one of them you have to go to town meeting.
Yeah,
and
but I mean,
okay it.
realistically, this myth that you've got this multi-trillion-dollar perpetual care fund.
The perpetual care fund, I believe it's a couple $100,000.
Yes.
To be honest with you, to be fair, and this is the problem that a lot of cemeteries and other towns are having, they ran with perpetual care funds and they were mismanaged, and now those cemeteries are going bankrupt and getting
Yeah, but
turned over
Jamie,
to the town.
let's say you have, round numbers, $200,000
in
perpetual
one, and
care
another
fund.
one for 100, so say 300,000.
300 grand.
Yep.
Interest is a couple percent.
Minimal. I think maybe 3%, give or take.
So 300 times 3%,
Not a lot.
it's not like you're going to hire two people and maintain trucks and services.
It wouldn't go too far.
You know,
Would
because
not
you
go-
sit there
and
and
if you dipped into for some reason, if the bylaws were different, you could dip into the large amount of it. How long would it
then
last?
you'll wipe it.
Exactly, and it's not going to
Wait a minute,
replenish itself.
300,000, your budget is how much this
About
year?
105,000.
So in 36 months, you would be at zero.
Except for that wonderful 3% we'd be getting back. So you know.
Okay, 9 grand.
That would make all the difference
Yeah,
in the world.
36.1 months.
It's a very nice system, once again, Milford in its foresight, being fiscally responsible, saying, yes, you can touch the interest for certain very defined things.
But at the end of the day, whether you could touch it or not, whether your budget was 105 or 96,
Doesn't make that much of a difference.
no, it's still the town's responsibility
Exactly.
to maintain it. And
It's a town cemetery.
yeah, and again, it's, it's like being fiscally responsible. These are the people who built Milford.
You'd be surprised, I mean, one of the biggest things down at Vernon Grove especially, I'm not Pine North Purchase Cemetery, but Vernon Grove especially, you'd be surprised how many people walk and go down there and ride their bikes or take their kids down there to learn how to ride bikes or ice skate in the winter or go down and jog. It's unbelievable the amount of traffic in there, foot traffic throughout the day, because it's out of the way and quiet. And there's not a lot of places anymore that are out of the way and quiet.
See, I would think Reno's bike trail would have stopped
It
most
has
of
deterred
that.
a lot of it.
Okay.
But for people on this side of town,
Oh, yeah.
still down on this side of town, you want to fight the traffic to get all the way out to the other
Oh,
side.
don't tell Reno. He'll start extending it again. Actually, it's probably one of the best things that ever happened to Milford was that
Yeah.
Charles River extended bike and everything trail.
It's very popular.
But I never thought of, again, I just never think of going to cemeteries for,
People find a lot of peace in cemeteries because they are quiet. They're no place to be afraid of, or it's a lot of people. It's happy memories. You don't remember the tail end of people's lives. You remember all the good things, and sometimes you see in their name, you remember the good things. No one remembers the tail end. In your mind, you always remember the good stuff. You don't want the other stuff's pushed back.
yeah. It's just funny because when we went to see my dad's plot in Portugal, I took my daughters there. Of course, the village was 300 people.
Yeah,
It's much smaller.
I have never been to Europe, but I imagine it's a little bit
when
different.
you have a town of 300 people, my daughter looks and says, "Dad, do you realize there are 4 names in this cemetery and we encompass 3 of them?" I said, "Yeah, except for that guy over there. He came from, Mungwald. He was like 10 miles away."
Oh, he was an outsider.
Yeah, he was an outsider.
He's
He's
a big
over in the
city guy.
corner. But she was like, "There's not much variance in this genetic pool, is it?" I said, "Not very deep."
Yeah, no, the branches didn't go out too far.
No. So, one of the hardest times is dealing with where I'm going to be when I sign up, hopefully, for that bus ride north.
Yep.
Does it make sense to go talk to Joe Edwards, Dave Consigli, Kellett, to say, "Hey guys, where do I go? What cemetery?" And then to go down and visit and pick?
That's very common, and it's people want the input in that, because as silly as it might sound, it's your final decision. It's the most permanent one you're ever going to make. So sometimes people, like you said, there a spot near that tree? I want a tree there. It's sometimes the littlest things, and you involve the funeral directors. They help out on other levels that completely,
Sure.
that's a whole. This is just a little piece of the whole puzzle, But this is the piece of the puzzle they're going to be it's their new mattress for a very long time, And people are very, very picky when it comes to where they'd want to be finally laid.
Of all the things I want my kids to worry about, to me, one less.
That's,
Start with above ground, below ground.
yeah. I'll take care
Start
of
with, do I want to be next to a tree? If I got family over there, is there a place?
And the worst thing on earth that happens sometimes, and it happens, I don't want to say every day, but people die and they had no lots, they had no plans, so it completely falls on to children or relatives at the worst time possible, because they're trying to deal with all the emotional
one child may
tie
say
in
above
it.
ground, one child may say below ground.
It
One
happens.
says put next to Aunt. He didn't like Aunt Mary.
Those silly little conversations do play out.
Something tells me they're not going to be arguing now, but
We hope not. It's the one thing about being in a cemetery. No one ever comes up. The residents never complain. The residents have never complained. If they start complaining, we know that we're doing the town of Milford a bad service.
if they start complaining, it's a B movie late at night. Any other message you want to give to the town residents about the cemeteries?
Honestly, as a board, the Vernon Grove Board of Trustees, we really like to thank all the kind words we get from people out there about the upkeep of the cemetery, what it looks like, and the support they've given us over the last few years with the changes we've had. We have been supported by people, and we've heard very positive things from it, and we hope to continue it, and that's our goal as a board.
How do I get a hold of Vernon Grove Cemetery?
Phone, believe it or not, we actually
We have
a phone number,
technology, no
yes.
electricity.
We have a phone down there, yes, and I wish I could tell you the number off the top of my head, and I can't, believe
But I
it
mean,
or
it's
not.
on the town website, right?
Yeah, oh, it's all listed on the town website, yes.
Or worst comes to worst, you just call the town hall.
You could Google Vernon Grove Cemetery and a phone
But I
number
mean,
will
for
pop
people
up.
who don't have a computer,
Town
just
hall. Phone book.
634-23800.
Phone books too, I mean, it's still out there, believe it or not.
We're going to put you
See,
in.
unfortunately, my Vernon Grove number is, I look up the V on my phone and it says Vernon Grove.
So you talk about phone books, we'll put you with the Mark Shanes and say, okay, you're
Does
dating
anyone
yourself.
really remember phone numbers anymore, though? You just look up
No,
the
I
number.
mean, it's
You
terrible.
You don't remember them.
It's terrible. The phone knows
I
it
can't
all.
remember my wife's cell phone number. It just says.
Oh, don't go there.
I just hit this.
If she watches this, you're in deep
I'm in trouble. I'm going to have to go pick out a lot.
Thank you for coming on and explaining it.
Absolute pleasure. I'd love to come back sometime.
And as always, never want to think you want to use this service, but it is something to consider early on. One less decision that you put on your children, on your loved ones. You go down there, you'll see how much pride that the town of Milford takes in making sure that we respect the people who've given us the ability to live in such a beautiful town. So, as always, to our 6 loyal viewers, may God bless. May tonight be a better night than tomorrow. Thank you for joining.
And thank you. It was an absolute pleasure.
Not too long since I've been home. Been running all my life just